connote that it's about children. Just Child Rights Act, that's what it's just saying to a reader straight that okay, this is about children.
That's
The
right.
Nigerian government cares so much about children. And most time when you look at the age of the girls that are being mutilated below 18. So the Child Rights Act is very, very instructive too. Section 11B of the Child Rights Act says that no child shall be subjected to any form of torture, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. If you consider this with the 1999 Constitution, it's almost the same thing.
Very similar, yes.
Yes. So that means that no child should be violated under no circumstance because that is the law and we are bound to obey the law. We
Okay.
don't argue the law or start saying that, oh, this is what I am, this I'm from this tribe and this is what we have to do. The law supersedes every other person. So you are bound to obey the dictum of the law. So now, when we look at this, there is no express mention of FGM.
That's the thing.
Yes, it's just we are
That's just the thing. That's the thing.
so there's no express mention. So that was why a lot of advocates started coming up that, oh, we want something that will be specific on FGM. That anybody reading it will know that, oh, this is FGM, not like we trying to explain to them
That's
that
right.
this is it. So that was what bet the violation of people's law. That's VAP law. That was what bet it. And it came into being in 2015 by President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And why people kept on hammering on that is just that they want something specific on that FGM. So VAP Act, though it was domesticated first in Abuja, but now we have about 30 states now that have also domesticated it. So some people gave it another name, some didn't use the VAP. Like Oyo State is using VAP law. So that means it's a law
In that state.
Yes, not act now that it's federal level.
Okay.
So now that one is very, very specific on FGM. Now let me read Oyo State's VAP law. The female genital mutilation of the girl child or woman is hereby prohibited. That's section 10 of it. So even it mentioned it expressly that the female genital mutilation of the girl child or woman is hereby prohibited. And any person who performs female genital mutilation or engage another to carry out such mutilation commits an offense. So that makes it a criminal offense. It's not something that you want to start arguing about. It is an offense. And now there's also a punishment to it. You are liable to a conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 4 years, or to a fine not exceeding 500,000 naira, or both. So that makes it that okay, if you're in your state and you are caught to be doing this, this is what is going to happen to you because you'll be prosecuted at the end of the day. So it's very, very express on it. Then the section 3 now says that any person who attempts to commit the offense under this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, or to a fine not exceeding 200,000. What do we mean by attempts? Like you want to do it. Maybe you've gotten the instruments ready and somebody just send a signal to an agency that, oh, this is what this man wants to do. It's an attempt. You have not succeeded in doing
Already
it.
done it, yes.
So that is the punishment for that. So the law doesn't want to wait until you do it. Even an attempt is still criminally, you are still criminally liable for it. So different laws on that. Then the VAP law too, which is the VAP Act, that one is from the states, which I earlier mentioned that Abuja one. Before each state now started adopting it, Oyo State did, Ogun State has their, Lagos has their, different states just started adopting it. Any person who attempts or commit this offense is liable to a term of 100,000. Most time people tend to look at it and they look at the price and the money that is attached to it and they be like, oh, this is very small at all. But that is where we can come in now that okay, there is a room for amendment. If you feel this is very small and it might not necessarily cop female genital mutilation, you can keep on hammering that okay, our government, this is what we want you to do.
So if I'm getting it correctly, you're talking about the fact that if people feel that amount, the 100,000, the 500,000, if we feel like this amount is too small and any Tom, Dick, and Harry can pay that amount, then we can seek and hold the government accountable to an amendment.
Yes,
so suggest it to them.
Yes.
And then
so through our legislators.
Okay, thank you for that, because I was going to say, how does that work exactly? Okay, so through
our legislators, because you are all from a particular constituency. Like if you're from a particular constituency, you have an honorable that is representing you.
Yes.
So you can just write a proposal to him. Dear Honorable, my name is this. I'm a gender advocate. I'm interested in this. I've perused the content of the laws in Oyo State, but I feel that the amount of money is very, very ridiculous.
Mm.
May I humbly suggest you raise it at the floor of the house, then with a lot of people too, so that it can't be only you. You know, when a lot of
Yes.
people gather, they keep writing to the honorable, and you know, you can raise it up, and before you know it, they try to change it. So that is how I think we can come in now. And you know, once they see that, you know that, oh, these people are also serious,
Mm-hmm.
let's do something about our law. So the laws are not just for us to just take it like that, and we can always work. Though it's going to be a long process. It's not as if the moment you do it, the moment we change it. But then we can hope for the very better.
Absolutely. That's so true. Is there more? Okay. So the reason I asked that particular question is because if you link it to the frequency at which we hear cases of female genital mutilation, you actually really question yourself and wonder, are there really laws?
Mhm.
Are there really laws? Like, if there really are laws, is the problem that these laws are not publicized enough? Or is the problem that people are just completely disregarding the laws because they don't have any faith in the justice system that would what's the word now, that would hold them accountable and give them consequences if they are found guilty? Is it that they don't have faith that will happen, or they are just thinking, I don't even think it will even get reported enough to the point where it will even get to the police and then to the court? So what exactly do you think, just by way of your profession and general experience, that is responsible for these laws not being adhered to? Is it a lack of publicity, lack of awareness, or just blatant disregard for the law by the masses?
I think it's part of everything you've mentioned, but I'm going to be taking them one after the other. Like, not only related to gender-based violence offenses alone. Generally, we seem to have a low, let me say, adherence to laws.
Hmm.
In fact, when you talk about stealing, talk about these and all, there are laws, but you know, because it's gender, so it's kind of like limited in a way, because most people do not really even care. Nigeria is such a patriarchal country, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So most people are not really aware. Then let's even say that awareness is also very low. A lot of people are not aware that we have laws, we have regulations on all this, because some people just think like it's normal thing, it's cultural thing,
Mm-hmm.
people do it. So, and is my I have a daughter, so if I want to cut the daughter, what's my own business? But that's not it, because the law is above every person. You can't say because it's your daughter, the law is above even you.
Mm-hmm.
Your life belongs to the government. As far as the law is concerned, you don't even have a right to take your own life. So not to now say, you now say, oh, it's my child, I gave birth to her, so I can do whatever. You can't do whatever. The law controls every of our actions. So I think that is one of the reasons: low awareness. Then lack of interest in women matters. You know, once you just say, oh, female genital mutilation, some people just look at it like, oh, it's a feminine issue. What's my own business with that?
Mm.
Girls and their wala, women, they too have wala. I don't have
That's
anything.
that's very true, and
So
it's a lot of men are guilty of that one.
yeah, so that's part of it. Then our cultural setting again, Nigeria, Africa, we have a lot of culture that are barbaric, and you know, and that's where the law is trying to come out now. That even law is against every barbaric culture, any culture that offends your dignity, your right of expression, your value as a person. The law is against it.
Mm.
So all these contribute to the reasons why people don't even know that we have many laws. But we thank God for program like this. They will orientate people, and people can keep on their awareness. Then another thing I also noticed is that
Yes.
a lot of women who have been mutilated, they kind of like they always hold back. They are not bold to say, I
Mm.
experienced this and I'm still suffering from it now.
So they're not bold enough to share their
To
struggles, their
exactly.
experiences.
Exactly. So people will just come up, oh, my grandmother was mutilated, she's fine, she did very well. I've never heard her complain of anything, but she's suffering in silence and she didn't voice out. So,
Mm.
but I think we have so many women who can come out and say, see, I was mutilated and I went through issues. I'm still suffering from it. You know, a lot of people will learn from that. But Africans, we don't usually tell our stories, especially the painful parts. Always hiding to ourselves. We don't want anybody to know that this is what has been done. So they mutilated you. We don't want all of that. So that's why we try to encourage people. If you've done this, please come out so that others can learn from you. Don't just keep your story to yourself and let other girls also pass through this horrifying experience.
Okay.
So those are the reasons I feel.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. It's 21 minutes past 2 on Women Radio 91.7, and this is still Let's Talk FGM on Women Radio 91.7. Let's Talk FGM is where we discuss everything pertaining to female genital mutilation. If you're just tuning in, my name is Somto Titilayo Ajama, and this is still Women Radio 91.7.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WFM 917. Mama Dora, bring Dora, come on. Mama Dada, don't come circumcise us.
Okay, so after this program, how far did they go? I mean, no, they do. No, 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 no. Low up and down, low up and down. Yes, yes.
The enforcement is very, very
Ah, yes. See this part, you tell them, you flood it. Because that's the real problem. It's like, I've never actually ever heard that. No, that female genital.
there is another big
I will put you on the hot seat. I will put you on the
I
hot
don't think they
seat.
don't even know.
Too many things. Okay, we're back up. This is still Let's Talk FGM on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama. If you're just tuning in once again, you're welcome. Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of Haiti Health Initiative in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to end violence against women. Today on Let's Talk FGM, we're discussing insights on policies and legislation that protects women and girls from female genital mutilation. Insights on policies and legislation that protects women and girls from female genital mutilation. Please, at any point in the program, feel free to call in to ask questions. If you're confused or a little bit perturbed by anything that has been said so far and you need clarification, well, we have Barrister Adeoti Tolulope with us today, and she's doing very good justice to the subject of insights on policies and legislation to protect women and girls against female genital mutilation. So if you got what she said and you're questioning, like, does this exist? Does it not exist? Put a call through to 07000 and ask your question. Ask it with your full chest. Ask your question and get clarification so that when you go back, you can have the proper feedback that you need. Also, you can send in text messages or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. All right. So we were just talking about the fact that a lot of cases concerning female genital mutilation just feel like they are commonplace. So these cases are now sadly viewed as the norm, when in reality that shouldn't even exist in the first place. As you've said, it's a violation and it shouldn't even be in the first place because it's actually a crime as well. So not only is it a violation, it's also a crime. Why then do you think that people are still partaking in or are still participating in female genital mutilation? Why do you think they're still doing that to people, to young girls nowadays?
I think it will go to the enforcement. To be very practical, the enforcement level is very, very low. And most times, even our security agencies, our law enforcement agencies are not well acquainted with these laws. So I think that is where we will have to start from. Then we have this culture again in Africa, and like, oh, what's my own?
Hmm.
So far, is she's not my daughter. If you like, you can cut her daughter. If whatever they do is not my own. That's not my daughter. So we always seem to mind our business. We are not really so
Hmm.
much like, oh, why must you cut your girl? I must take you. I must report you. We don't really have that kind of attitude. In fact, if you take somebody to court on an action and you get back, just know that you can't be friends again. And
Hmm.
so when people now say, "Oh, so you mean I'll not be the one to report my neighbor that she's mutilating again?" Oh no, I don't want that. Leave her alone. I just leave them in God's hands. So all this kind of attitude
You're
too.
very right. You're actually very right.
So those attitudes too, it water down all this law. But I think we have a working system whereby even our law enforcement agencies are well acquainted with these laws.
Mm-hmm.
Once you report that, oh, FGM, this is it, they'll be so proactive to act. I think all these will really be structured out properly, and they will try to know that this is a criminal offense, not just a feminine issue. Because they can just look, even there are cases of rape, people report and they just say like, oh, is that not your boyfriend? So why will you
Mm.
now come and report your boyfriend? No, it's not about that. It's an offense. It's a criminal offense.
So it should be
So it
treated
should be treated
as
as
one.
such. Yeah, it's not like you just overlook it like, oh, so what's my own business now? It's feminine issue.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God there are some states that have some gender units in their police stations, though it's not all the states. People are still
Yes.
working on that. But I just hope that we have that in all the 36 states. So gender units, or by the gender officers that they are, policemen there are
Mm-hmm.
well acquainted. They will entertain your reports. They understand that, oh, this is what you've come to do, and they will treat it as it should be treated, not just like wave it aside like, oh, it's one of those things now, it's cultural. Or even me, that I'm even talking to, I was even mutilated. So why the female officers at times. So it's part of those issues that we have to start from. Encourage them, motivate them, and let them see that, oh, what you're actually doing, that means you're even condoning it itself. So
Mm.
you're in a way aiding it, which is also an offense. I'll also get to
Absolutely.
that. Aiding and abetting FGM is also an offense.
Hmm. You know, it's really good that you mentioned that. It's really good that you mentioned that. And then we're coming back to that part where you just said aiding and abetting female genital mutilation is an offense. So we've talked about the fact that committing female genital mutilation in and of itself is a crime.
Yes.
But then you're letting us know now that even when you're not the one directly doing it,
Yes.
you're also committing a crime by supporting or involving your child or involving yourself.
Yes.
Basically, aiding that crime is a crime as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us more about that, because this is something that, as you said, I want to mind my business, but you're transporting the person that wants to have their daughter caught from
Yes.
Lagos to another state or from another
Yes.
state to this place. You that did that transport, that collected money, you're basically, because doesn't that qualify as aiding and abetting the
Of course,
crime?
it is. It is.
Hmm.
Or even just incitation, like, if this your girl is growing up so fast, oh, have you mutilated her? I did to my girls. Do that, oh, because you don't want her to be promiscuous, and that's one of the like most invalid reasons, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So that is also a form of inciting and abetting. So it's also criminal. Let me read
Okay.
section 6, subsection 4 of the Violence Against Persons and Prohibition Act 2015. A person who incites, aids, abets, or counsels another person to commit the offence provided for in subsection 2, that's the FGM,
Mm-hmm.
commits an offence and is liable to a conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or to a fine not exceeding 100,000 or both. So that means you can have the combination of the 2 years and the 100,000 for inciting, abating. There are some
Mm-hmm.
people that they will be like, don't worry, I'll get all the instruments for you. Or I even know a professional
Mm.
circumciser that can do it for you, and there won't be issue and all of that. And meanwhile, there will surely be issues. So if you're doing that, you're also committing the same crime. You are liable to be punished by the government. So that is that.
Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. And I say interesting because anyhow you look at it, it totally points to the fact that we have more people in the Nigerian society who think that this is still okay.
Yeah.
And because they think it's still okay, even if they know, even if they vaguely know about the laws, they don't think that it will apply to them because they think anybody who is Nigerian would understand that this is our culture. So they may look at it and be like, it's in the law, but it's not our culture. So because we have to go with, I know I'm looking at you now, and the person is probably thinking, even if anything happens, I can look at the judge and say, you don't know that we're in Nigeria. This is what we believe in. This is what we do. So that level of ignorance is disheartening and is very questionable, being that we as a country should know better.
Yes.
So let me ask you this: if aiding and abetting is a crime, and commission of the female genital mutilation in itself is also a crime,
attempt to
the attempt to as well is
is
a
also a
crime, then what becomes of traditional circumcisers, parents who want their children mutilated, who probably know or even maybe don't know, because from to the best of my knowledge, even ignorance is not an excuse in the court of
Yes,
law.
yes, yes.
So even if they know or they don't know, what becomes of parents who want their children to be mutilated? I mean, who is responsible? What is responsible for who, and who is responsible for what in this situation? And I'm looking at it from the criminal point of view.
Okay, okay. So from the criminal point of view, as far as the law is concerned, ignorance is an exception. You
Mm.
just have to know you've committed it, you've committed it. Oh, I didn't know I was not supposed to cut her. You've done it, you've done it. So are liable to be punished. However, if we put a kind of like sociological aspect and approach to it, can we try to reorientate all these people? Can we actually try to list out all the weakness of FGM, like all the disadvantages,
Mm-hmm.
everything that can happen to a girl? How a girl can even lose her life through that process. How
Mm.
a girl can be contacted. How a girl can have an issue for her life and she'll never remain whole again. Urination issues, childbirth,
Mm.
menstruation, and all of that. What about we put out all those disadvantages to all these parents and we do it in our local language? Because I believe that a lot of enlightened people might not necessarily subscribe to FGM, even
That's
though
true.
few can still.
Mm-hmm.
But so I feel we need to go back to the grassroots and speak in local language, local dialects. That okay, these are the states with the statistics and research that a lot of people have done. These are the states that have high rates of FGM. Can we go to them? Can we now start to look for another approach or another work for all these traditional circumstances, like getting them farm, giving them a source of income, like training them.
Mm-hmm.
So you know you're collecting a source of livelihood from them. So you should be
Mm-hmm.
able to give them an alternative that oh, we don't want you to do this. This is bad. This is a criminal offense, but this is another alternative that we're bringing to you. So what about we do all of that? Then watch how the change will be. Because most time they don't even know, they are not aware. They
Mm.
even think they are doing the girl under so much dangerous situation and
Mm-hmm.
conditions. So what about we put them to that and let them understand that this is what you are doing, you don't love this girl. And this is what can result from this girl. A lot of girls they lose their self-esteem because of that. Because somehow they feel incomplete, like something has been removed from their body. Sometimes when they go out in public toilet and they know, ah, why is my girl, why is my friend private part like this and me, I don't have this. You know, children can be so and they'll be like, oh, so something has been that means I'm not complete. So that means something is not with me again.
Mm.
And they start feeling the loss of self-esteem. It's gradually it start getting lower and lower and
It's little
lower
by
and
little,
little by
yes.
little, and the girl child will just succumb to fate that, oh, I'm an African, here I am. But we shouldn't do that. So we should try to keep on with the advocacy, and I believe that we are going to see positive change.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have a call coming in. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk FGM. May I know your name and where you're calling from? Thank you very much for calling. Oh no, not at all. Not at all. You're on to Women Radio 91.7. All right. I don't know what's responsible for that kind of error. But okay. Moving on. Moving on. You can still call in. You can still call in. And this, by the way, is Women Radio 91.7. So when you're calling in, you know specifically where you're calling into so that you can get the information that you need when or clarity that you need when it regards female genital mutilation. You're tuned into Let's Talk FGM, and the title of the program speaks for itself. We're discussing everything pertaining to female genital mutilation. But today, in particular, we're talking about insights on policies and legislation that protects women and girls from FGM. Insights on policies and legislation that protects women and girls from female genital mutilation. Once again, the line to call is 07000 You can also send in a text or a WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537. Quick question in the line of your thoughts. So even when you talked about the female no the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act,
Yes.
there was a part you mentioned 500,000 naira, 4 years imprisonment, or both.
Yes.
And then you referred to all both here. What has to happen for you to get both?
Okay. The one I read out, that's the Oyo State Violence Against People's Law. You know, it's now a state.
Yes.
That one is the 500,000 one. But the 200,000 one, that's the VAP.
Mhm.
That's the first one that was enacted in Abuja. That's the federal one before states now started adopting and domesticating them. Okay. So now, you know, most time judgments, it's boils down to how the judge feel. The law is what the judge actually says. So once a judge look at issues and like, oh, maybe out of ignorance, let me just give the woman 2 years. And maybe the woman has showed so much resource, like, oh, I didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I didn't do, and it will never happen. And the judge who has read all the demeanor, countenance, and all. So she might just say, oh, 2 years. And if probably the judge look at everything and say, this woman is still not, like, she doesn't understand that she has done something,
Mm-hmm.
the judge cannot say, oh, both, then you will learn. So everything still depends on how the judge feel. They are also humans and they go.
Yes.
So and a woman most time might likely just like, why will you do this? I'm also a woman, I have daughters, I didn't do this. So
Mm-hmm.
for that you're getting for, because you should know better. So it's all those things also affect the judgment of the court too, of the judge. So that is how it is. Some people might be lucky they can get two, some people might be lucky they can get one. So it depends.
Honestly, I had to ask that question because you had said that a couple of times and it was triggering for me. Like, okay, when you say all both, do you mean that after you do the first one, then if you commit it again, then you'll be is it entitled now? You can be
That's punishment.
yes for that. You can be punished for that particular time you've repeated it. So I was wondering if it's the repetition of it that's responsible for okay. So but you're saying specifically now that it is most likely at the discretion
Of the courts,
of the
the
court,
judges.
of the judge himself or herself. All right. All right, all right. So let's now talk about compliance. Let's talk about compliance. How can we enforce compliance? Because sometimes there are laws, principles, rules in place, and there's a popular school of thought that says rules are meant to be broken.
Mm.
Like rules are literally, I have heard that so many times. Oh, you want to do something and you know it's not right. You in your heart and in your soul, you know that this thing you're about to do is not right, and people around you telling you rules are made to be broken. Some
Mm.
the rules are made so just break it. You only have one life to live, and but that's a reference to doing maybe adventurous things that you technically shouldn't be doing.
Shouldn't be
But in a
doing.
case of something this serious,
Mm.
you can't say rules are made to be broken. That so
No,
doesn't apply
no, no,
to
no,
this because
no.
this particular rule is not just a rule; it's a law.
It's a law, yes. It's a law.
So, how can we enforce compliance? Is there a way that can be done? Is there a way that can be done, particularly as it relates to female genital mutilation?
Okay. I think it will still go back to the enforcement. Most times, let me say, it's very, very difficult to get the number of cases that's been prosecuted in court, especially on FGM. Like
Okay.
if you come to our state now, your state now, and you ask that, oh, Ministry of Justice, Department of Public Prosecutions, can we get the record of the number of cases, especially on FGM, that you
Mm-hmm.
prosecuted? It might be very difficult. So now I think it will go back to the rate of the prosecution. How many people have they prosecuted so far on
Mm-hmm.
it? Because one thing is like if you make somebody a scapegoat of something like, oh, Mr. Lagbada, you did this. Like it states have a public offender list whereby if you are convicted of rape, after you serve immediately the judge is pronouncing the punishment. The name is written on the register and they'll post it on their local governments. So everybody in your family will know that Mr. Lagbada, you did
Mm-hmm.
this. That name, the whole family for life. So everybody
Absolutely.
will see that Ekiti State doesn't joke about this.
Mm.
So it's very, very rare. And most time, even their cases now on rape and all, it's getting reduced because people are beginning to say that no, if you do this, this is what will happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the policy, it can even be possible for somebody to be serving a sentence in custody and nobody will know because it's not detailed anywhere unless you go to court and make your
Inquiry and
inquiries.
then find that out. Okay.
But when you now see somebody's picture or maybe your neighbor, and be like, Mr. Lagbaja, this is your picture. It sends a lot of signal.
Hmm.
And for a country like ours that we are so communal in nature and everybody will be like, oh, he's my husband, he's my this. Everybody wants to disassociate with you.
Hmm.
So I think that will also help if we can try something like that. High rate of prosecution. Then after prosecuting, we don't just keep quiet in court. Our courts are very it's kind of like confidential in a way. Most time we always just in the court. Sometimes you are not even expected to say some things outside of
Mm-hmm.
courtroom. Everything is done you know
There's too
in
much.
such
There's a lot of mystery
yeah,
around
so
it.
people don't get to know. But imagine if you publish something like that outside that this woman mutilated a girl and this is her picture and she's in the custody for this years. A lot of people will see that, oh, so that means you guys are now serious. So that means you
Mm-hmm.
punish somebody. So it
Hmm.
will a
Hmm.
lot of people will be so waking up to they will be so they'll understand the fact that they're not just laws for paper sake. They are working and if you do this, this is what will happen. So I think that is what we will have to work on. Prosecution, then a lot of advertisement and jingles. Apart from the fact that Ekiti State published the name of their convicted offenders, they also go on social media, on their Facebook page. Ekiti State this, please kindly note Mr. Lagbada. Imagine just seeing somebody you want or your classmate. In fact, you won't even tell anybody that this is my classmate.
Mm-hmm.
So you just do as if you've not seen the person before. So imagine we do that on FGM. So I think it will go a long way. So that is where I think we can work on this.
You're actually 100% correct. You're actually 100% correct. And then with the reference of the fact that these people need to be sensitized and they need to be retold and retold and retold. And Nigeria, that advertisement and jingles that you
Yes,
talked about
yes,
also has to be affected.
yes,
And that's your suggestion to
yes,
enforce compliance.
yes.
But you know, there's something that Nigerians take very personally.
Okay.
Shame.
Shame.
Shame. The mere fact that, and it goes in line with the advertisement that you
Yes,
said.
yes,
So just knowing that I know somebody, maybe even not directly, but I know somebody that knows somebody, a friend of my friend, somebody
yes.
was his name or her name was publicized somewhere. You Nobody wants to be associated with
Yes.
that person because automatically you're carrying the shame of that person.
Yes.
And they're like, are you not the
The
friend of
friend
mine?
of
Don't
Mr.
you? And automatically you already know that because you're associated with them, they already believe you're associated with the crime
Yes,
as
yes,
well.
yes.
So to a large extent, I agree with that point of view that the
Yes.
more they talk about it, the more it's publicized,
Yes.
and the more people are shamed, named
Yes.
and shamed
Hmm.
for perpetrating female genital mutilation. Then to a
Yes.
large extent, we will see a reduction in cases because that's what you were
Yes.
talking about.
Yes.
All right. It's 17 minutes to 3 on Women Radio 91.7, and this is still Let's Talk FGM. Still discussing insights on policies and legislation that protect women and girls from FGM. So you can call in 07000 is the number to call. 07000 You can also ask questions and you will get the answers to your questions, hopefully, in the course of conversation. 07000 is the number to call. And you can also send in text or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. Now, you talked about the culture earlier, the fact that for some reason it looks like that cultural perspective that people have is also another reason why FGM is so common.
Yes.
Would you say that despite these laws, culture is still topmost in the minds of people when it comes to female genital mutilation and the fact that it's still a common practice today?
Yes, because Nigeria is such a cultural country. Everybody belongs to one tribe or culture. Somebody will say, "Oh, this is what the woman in my family has been doing. If my great grandmother did it, my grandmother did it, my own mother did it, and why will it come to my turn now? You be telling me it's an offense and all." So a lot of people still hold in high regard their cultural values, their traditions. That's why somebody can travel all the way from Lagos, take his daughter to far, his own state and say, oh, because Lagos people, you're saying it's a crime, bro.
Hmm.
No problem. I'll take this child to my local government. I'll take this child to my town and they will do it for her and nobody will know anything. So people still hold their cultural values, their expectations and all. They still hold it in high esteem.
Hmm.
And that is because I feel because the law has not really been active. I didn't mean it has been so much pronounced as an offense and people have been seeing people that has been prosecuted for it. In fact, the hometown that the man is taking the child to, they will also reject the child that no,
Exactly.
I don't want to be a suspect in your case. Take your child away. I don't want Wala. Of the fact that a lot of things goes on in hidden places. Nobody bothers to check on anybody. Before you know it, they can cut a girl. You can be in the same environment with the girl, and they are cutting the girl, and nobody will know.
Hmm.
They just keep signing. So I think and despite this fact, the law is still above our cultural values and expectation because we are all expected to obey them. And any cultural values, any law, any cultural expectation that is barbaric, repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience is supposed to be dropped. So, as far as the law is concerned, the law is above every culture, every traditions, everything that you hold in high esteem. In
Mhm.
fact, belief, religion, the law is above it because by the virtue of the provisions of the constitution, Nigeria is a secular country. So you're not expected to say, I'm a person, I'm a Yoruba lady, this is what they be doing and all. No, the law is above that. The law doesn't care about your tradition so much, especially as it violates women's rights.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you're cutting a girl, you are violating her sexual and reproductive rights too. So the girl child you are violating is a girl, is a citizen of of the country, and the law even believe you are not the owner of that child.
Hmm.
Every child belongs to the government. Even your own life belongs to the government. So what are we now saying? So the law is above every culture, every traditions that seems to suppress women, violate their rights, deprive them of their fundamental human rights and expose them to torture,
Mm-hmm.
all form of cruel treatment, degrading treatment, just to make sure that the girl child are suppressed. The law is above that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Another very important question to speak about would be the fact that you said earlier, and I also know this, there are some states that have not domesticated both the Child Rights Act and
Uh,
the yes, exactly. There are some states that have still not now we have a federal government. We
yes.
have the local, we have the states, we have the federal government.
Yes.
And the federal government, as everybody knows, is like big brother to us.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what is the federal government doing? Are there any measures that should be put in place? Because there's only a level of freedom that you get when that
Yes.
freedom, in a certain way, when put in a certain context, impedes on the rights of other people. Because the fact that the states are free to choose whether or not to domesticate these rights and these laws, it's already directly contradicting the fact that you need to secure the sexual and reproductive rights of women and girls within those areas, particularly for those who are still being mutilated. So if the freedom of a state to decide whether or not to domesticate the right is infringing on the rights of the people who are supposed to be protected, what is the federal government to do about that, in your opinion?
Okay, well, to me, I think the federal government, they have a lot of problems and they have a lot to deal with themselves. So I think it will still fall back on the advocates in that state. A lot of
Mm,
time, the state governments might not even be aware. Men so much they bother themselves on different things, education, health. They might not really see it like there's a need for it. But what if advocates bring it to their table that this is it? I'm a women rights advocate in so states, and I noticed that this has not been adopted.
mhm.
Can we come up together? Can all the NGOs on women rights and girl child, can we talk together? Can we come with one? Because mostly that was what led to the domestication of all these laws in different states.
Okay.
Doesn't as if government on their own just woke up and did it like that,
Mm,
except from some states like Lagos, Ekiti. Those
okay.
ones they are pioneers in gender advocates, like the Ekiti State First Lady, she's a gender advocate, she's a feminist,
Mm-hmm.
she's always at the forefront. Kwara, gender advocate, First Lady. So all of them are Ogun State too, First Lady, all of them are like that. Those
Yes.
states too. So they are that one they won't be an issue. But a
Mm-hmm.
state where people they don't really see the need for it.
Or they don't have that much
They don't
awareness
have
as
much
well.
awareness as well. So they just say people are fine. Well, yes, nobody is complaining, or has anybody ever complained that she
Mm.
was mutilated and anything? So they might not even see the need for it. But if women rights advocates and organizations can wake up and say, oh, this is what we want. This is what just few states now that have not domesticated it. We want this. We want to also toll in the line of others that have done this. And I
Exactly.
think they're going to get positive response. Oh, it might not be fast, but it's going to be a
Mm.
deliberate approach. A lot of jamborees, a lot of going to the house, this is what we want. A lot of even support from other federal government agencies where you now talk now. You can now call on Minister of Women Affairs, please,
Mm.
ma, can you come and intervene with us now?
Absolutely.
And the job will be easier to done with that. But to now just expect the federal government to just be, I don't know, it might not really work like that.
That's a very interesting perspective. And I think so because, again, in these states, it feels like either there's not enough awareness, or, as you said, there's too much on their plates that they're not
Yes.
considering those things. So, this is why the Child Rights Act, the VAP Act, have not been domesticated in such states. But we definitely need to draw attention to that. And that's where your point comes in, of
Yes.
the advocates, gender advocates in those states, to come together and present a
Yes.
case before the relevant authorities and try to get support from senior relevant bodies to lend their voice to the cause and, of course, get these states to domesticate these policies. Okay, so we're going to round off in a little bit, but I want you to draw some attention to the fact that these to the punishments, so to speak, the punishment. And I'm saying that because I'm not wishing anybody evil. I'm a very sweet soul, so I don't wish anyone evil. But please, you need to repeat some of those laws and the consequences just for so that it resonates, so that and I put it towards the end so that if you didn't catch anything in the course of the entire program, you can know that, oh, the Child Rights Act says, the VAP Act says. So when you're not done, I'll say thank you very much. And then, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Section 6 of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. The circumcision or genital mutilation of the girl child or woman is hereby prohibited. A person who performs female circumcision or genital mutilation or engage another to carry out such circumcision or mutilation commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 4 years or to a fine not exceeding 200,000 naira or both. Then the second category goes for any person who attempts to commit the offense in this section is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or to a fine not exceeding 100,000 naira or both. Then the next category, a person who incites, aids, abates, or counsels another person to commit the offense provided for in this section
Mm-hmm.
commits an offense not exceeding 2 years or to a fine not exceeding 100,000 naira or both.
And this is what we call it a day on Let's Talk FGM today. I really, really needed that you read that out so that anyone listening can really understand that this is not child's play anymore. This is not something that people are taking lightly anymore. The impact of female genital mutilation for in the life, the entire in the course of the entire life of an individual is humongous. And
Yes.
because of that horrific long life impact, we cannot stay silent when it comes to the cause against elimination of female genital mutilation. So thank you very much, Barrister Adeoti Tolulope, for joining me today on Let's Talk FGM. It has been a very educative conversation.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, in case you got nothing in the course of the entire program, I'm pretty sure that you got the last part, which contains the laws and legislations against female genital mutilation. So, I believe that to a large extent, we really have learned something today. And next week, by 2 p.m. on Wednesdays, is another time on Women Radio to listen to Let's Talk FGM. Join us as we talk FGM and condemn the practice. Let us join hands together to stop female genital mutilation today. You can also report cases of female genital mutilation around you by calling the number 0812 467 0069 to report cases. Yes, 0812 467 0069. Get more information on female genital mutilation and what to do next on stopcut.hacy.org. Stopcut.hacy.org. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let's Talk FGM is an initiative of Hazy Health Initiative in partnership with Women Radio 91.7 and funded by the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women. Thank you to my producer, Adenike Quadri, and my name is Somto Titilayo Ajama. Good afternoon.
Àṣàkẹ́ ní sunkún ilé wọn pẹ́ ṣebí ìyá àgbà onígi ló fẹ́ dábẹ́ fún ọ. Mo fẹ́ dábẹ́ fún ọmọ mi. Aláàbíkẹ́ ẹ̀gbọ́n wọ́n fẹ́ dábẹ́ fún ọmọ ẹ̀gbọ́n wọ́n. Àwọn ọmọ yẹn ló fẹ́ dábẹ́ fún ṣàbẹ̀ ìyá àgbà onígi gan ni wọ́n sì tẹ̀kọ́ fún wa dábẹ́ fún.
Well done, well done, well done, well done. Thank you for coming in.